Hey everyone, I'm Tom, and welcome to the Orange Chronicles, where I chronicle what I have been up to over the past week or so. Let's go ahead and start off with the books that I finished this week, and there was two of them. One of them, the first one that I finished was Demon Copperhead, and I have just got to say that this is one of the best books that I have ever read. I gave this a 5-star ranking. It was my second 5-star of the year, and this is just a book that just from kind of the start of the book, like literally like the first chapter to the very end, I just knew this was one of those books that is going to stay with me for a really long time. I think it has a really just like impactful story. It definitely is not a happy story. It is something that made me viscerally angry and sad and just like the whole gambit of emotions, which is normally something that a 5-star book has to, or a book has to do for it to be a 5-star for me. It starts very humble beginnings. It starts with a kid who is being raised by his mom in a single wide trailer in rural Virginia. And I think maybe one thing that makes this book hit me as hard as it did is I have been in these kinds of areas. I have family who have been affected by some of the things that are talked about in this book, and it felt so real. And like I said, it is not a happy book. There's so many times where you just want to like shake your fist at the world, punch something, but you know that like punching something isn't going to fix the problem. It is just a total gambit of emotions, and it just, man, it's so well done. It reminds me of so many other. It doesn't remind me of so many other things, but this just feels like one of those books that's important for people to read. When I was looking, this is one of those books where I don't really understand how you don't like think of it highly. I think is the best way to say it. I can totally see how people would not enjoy this book because it is not like if you're not in like the mood or the headspace, the mental whatever you want to call it to handle some of the things that happen in this book. I can totally get how this is a book that you would put down and not want to pick back up. But to just like turn a blind eye to it and ignore like how important of a book I think this is seems wrong. And so I did something that I normally don't do, and I looked at some of the negative 1-star reviews on Goodreads. This has like a crazy high Goodreads rating. It's like a 4.5 or something crazy on Goodreads. So like very highly praised. And I actually don't disagree with what some of the 1-star ratings were saying, where this is a book that kind of gets down into the muck and the grime and just kind of lives in there. You could almost say it revels in it a little bit. I think if you wanted to look at this in a very pessimistic kind of view, and I just disagree with that. I think that is coming from a place of people who have not seen or experienced some of the things that are talked about in this book. The extreme poverty, the addiction issues, just how those things can become so prevalent in a community, and some of the outside forces that basically looked at these areas and exploited them for gain. I mean, we know that these things are true. These aren't imaginary things that were made up. And it's frustrating to read about. And it's even more frustrating to have seen it in real life and probably have been too young to really understand what exactly was going on. And then to read it as an older person to kind of get that experience again and just be like, wow, yeah, it really is that bad. And it's not necessarily just somebody's fault. Like there's a lot of innocent people who did nothing wrong that were exploited for gain from people they should have been able to trust, and ended up spiraling and just like being taken advantage of. And these were already people who were not well off. And yeah, it's a difficult read, but it's one of those books that I'll never stop thinking about. It is, like I said, it's one of the best books that I've ever read. It's my top book of the year right now. It's going to be like they're the only like it's one of those books that it's like I don't even know if I can say. I mean, I did enjoy it, but it's enjoyment is not the kind of word that you I feel like I should use in a book like this, because it's not like a happy go lucky time. It is raw and real, and just like, yeah, it's an amazing book. It's definitely a book that I'm going to push on to people to read. Like obviously I mostly read science fiction and fantasy, and this is not that. This is like, literary fiction and whatnot. But sometimes I think there are books that are good enough and important enough that kind of just show you things in the world that can broaden your horizons, and that you need to like experience them. And this is one of those books for me. It's definitely not, like I said, not an easy read. It's difficult and it makes you angry. And like I said, there are going to be people who they're going to feel like it revels in it too much. That it's going to turn them away from it. But I just cannot say enough positive things about Demon Copperhead, and it just is, like I said, one of the best books that I have read. It's going to be one of those books. I compared it to The Jungle by Upton St. Clair a little bit, and To Kill a Mockingbird a little bit, where those are books that kind of tackle important societal issues, but they do it in a way that's just so real and visceral that like you can relate to it. And I think those are two comps that this is like a third pillar in that kind of group. From different time periods that are kind of going after different things. The Jungle, everyone talks about how it was about meat packaging and processing and stuff, but really what that book is about is immigration. And then you have To Kill a Mockingbird, which is racism in the Deep South, and then this is poverty and really an addiction related book. And I just think it's super powerful. Those three books, like those are like three books that I would push on a lot of people, just because I think they are important. And I'm going on way too long about this one book, but I do just think it's so good. It deserves this kind of conversation. I would love, if you have read this book and you didn't like it, I'd love to hear why. And if you have read this book and loved it, I'd love to know why. If you have any thoughts about this book, definitely hit me up in the Discord or in the comments down below. I'd love to talk about it because yeah, it's just, it's one of those ones where there's different ways to talk about books. Like you have your enjoyment books, you have ones that are just like best. They like fit like the structure of like what literature is, whatever that ambiguous meaning is. And then you just have books that I think are powerful and important. And this is one of those books where like it's powerful and important. And like I said, just read it. Honestly, at this point, I've talked about it enough. I just think you should read it. 5-star book, probably, like I said, book of the year for me so far. It's going to be hard to beat it. So, maybe I'm spoiling the lead there, just like proclaiming that. But and it's funny to look at my two favorite books of the year so far and just how different they are, because We Used to Live Here is my number 2 book now. That is like a pure just enjoyment kind of book, and I think it has like fun questions and it's just like enjoyment. And then this is the kind of book where it just like, man, it gets you. It just hits you in a way that like, it's special. So yeah, that is Demon Copperhead. Highly recommend. Like I said, Discord, comments, whatever, we can talk about it if you want to. But then that brings me to the second book that I finished, and that would be Dragon Day. This is kind of one of those Audible exclusives that every now and again I like to take a chance on. It has like a full cast of people like doing it. It's very highly polished and it sounds good and all this stuff, and it's included with your Audible membership. So if you have it, you can just like listen to it with, you don't have to pay for it. It's nothing extra. And I thought it was pretty good. I gave it a 3-star. It's one of those things where you come off the high of Demon Copperhead, like a new all-time favorite, and you come down to something that's just like fine. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsher on it than I would be. I gave it 3 stars. I don't think it would have ever been a 4-star book for me, but I think it was fine. If you have Audible and you need like, I think it's like 6 hours long, so if you listen to it at a faster speed than 1 time, like it goes by very quick. It's well done. It's got some interesting little things that happen. It ends up with, actually that's too big of a spoiler. I won't say that, but I think it's fine. It's not. It's not going to be something that I remember after too long, probably. But as far as Audible exclusive goes, I mean, they're definitely worse. I've definitely listened to much worse. But, like I said, for it being a free add-on to something I'm already paying for, I can't complain too much. If you want to, there's some like fun dragon stuff that happens in it. It's like a mixture of like World War Z a little bit, but dragons. So maybe that's kind of the sales pitch for it. But yeah, it was fine. And like I said, coming down from Demon Copperhead, I needed something that I knew probably had no chance of being something I would love again right after it. I needed something to kind of cleanse myself a little bit. So Dragon Day was kind of the sacrificial lamb there. And like I said, I did that job. It was fine. I enjoyed it, but like I didn't really have too high of expectations for it. And then that just leads me to what I'm still currently working on. So I am, I think, 51 pages into Mercy here by Chance Dillon. It's been good. I have got to say, it's just a funny thing. This is probably not something that most, maybe people will notice, but it probably won't bother them. Is not the right way. It won't affect them the same way it affects me. So I'm dyslexic. And there are a lot of people in here who have like super similar names. Like it'll be like a letter or 2 off. And that is like, for me, in my dyslexic brain, like worst nightmare case, like horrible, like, okay, who's who, what's what, like I've got to like check it 3 or 4 times. So that's just been like a funny little thing that has been going on here. But what I will say is it's been really good. I've been enjoying this book so much in the first 50 or so pages. And the artwork that is like sprinkled in here, I haven't looked ahead, which is something I'm, fun fact about me, if you put art in your book, I'm really bad about like looking ahead at it. But like you've got just like nice artwork added in here and everything. So this has been really good. And it starts off good. Like the first couple pages or first couple chapters where you're getting through stuff, he kind of lays out what kind of series this is going to be, which is something I appreciate from an author. So I'm very much looking forward to getting much further into that. And then the big one that I am actually starting today after I finish this, I downloaded, but it is Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. I'm finally getting into Sun Eater, and I'm very much looking forward to reading that. It is a series I've mentioned many times that I have known about the series since like the third book came out. I think maybe even a little bit before that. I have all of the books. I've bought them. I just keep pushing it off and pushing it off, and I finally decided that it is time to start that, and I'm very much looking forward to. I don't know if I'll finish either of these in the upcoming week or so, but I'm definitely looking forward to putting in some effort into both of these and making some good progress there. And that has been everything that I've read novel-wise. And I'd love to hear what you have read down below in the comments, or like I said, you can definitely hit me up on Discord as well. That'll be linked in the description. On the manga front, I read one chapter of Boruto. It was fine. Boruto is just kind of like one of those things. It's like a bad habit I can't quit because I just like Naruto so much. I'm just continuing the story, even though I don't like it nearly as much. But there are some other manga that I want to get to, so maybe we'll see a little bit of an uptick in that as well. And then as far as what I have watched the Jeopardy's Masters, which is always just crazy to see the knowledge that some of these people randomly have. And I always feel so good when they ask a question and I get it right. Like normal Jeopardy, you'll get a lot of stuff right, but on the Masters, it's like high, like, these are the best of the best. And so sometimes when they're asking these random questions that there will be 15 questions in a row where I don't even know where to guess, right? And then you finally get one right. It just is super nice. And that's maybe part of the charm of Jeopardy. And then I do just want to say, I still have not watched The Last of Us season 2 finale. I've heard it's really bad. And I'm curious if you have watched it, what your thoughts are down below in the comments, because yeah, I haven't. And then I think I mentioned this in my monthly update, but I finished The Pit. Super good show. Absolutely would recommend it if you have not watched it. That was a great recommendation from Jimmy over at the Fantasy Network. The Pit on HBO is absolutely fantastic. But that has been my week. Reading wise, it was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with finishing 2 books and one just being an all-timer. So hopefully I didn't talk too long about Demon Copperhead. That just, sometimes when you get one of those books, you just have to go on and on. But like always, remember, read what you want when you want.